Around 70% of school children in Mississippi rely upon free or subsidized lunches. So this is a shout out to one particular farm, and I know there are many that are helping, and that encourages me greatly to see how many people are actually chipping in and helping, unlike what has just gone on in the last half hour. But with the arrival of the COVID-19 fake pandemic, one local farm in Mississippi has stepped in to ensure they still get nutritious food in their diet. And the name of that company is Footprint Farms, and it has 68 acres of farmland in Jackson City proper, which is just half a mile from the main street. And the farm is still, though the farm is still within the Jackson City limits, parts of the city are considered a food desert, whatever that means. What it does mean is that people struggle to get fresh fruit and vegetables because they live more than 1 mile from the nearest grocery store. And most of Mississippi is a food desert in this way. So the current situation is particularly concerning. And when you go to the grocery store and you see empty shelves, it gets kind of scary. And some people, as said, are afraid to go in at all. You know, there's long lines at some of the grocery stores with this ridiculous social distancing, and people are sitting and waiting outside to get inside. And this is the problem people are facing all over the country, not just Mississippi at the moment. Of getting good, fresh, local food is rather difficult. So this particular farm is only a small farm, 68 acres, but they are the largest urban farm in Mississippi. And the owner says it's one thing growing the best fruit and vegetables, but if you can't sell it in 1 or 2 days, you end up losing all of it. And this is happening to many farmers around this country. And yet, what is being done about it? And the owner said, you know, there are people out there who really need this food. And her first reaction was, oh my gosh, when I heard all the data from all the other countries about the virus. But for them and other people in rural areas like Mississippi, there's always a crisis in terms of access to food. And the fake pandemic was only making it worse. So they took it upon themselves to partner up with the school districts there. As the schools are shut, a lot of children are not getting the meals they would normally get under the National School Lunch Programme. So they, even though the school was shut, they were sending food to the children and the families that rely on that food. Mississippi has the highest proportion of children who are dependent on free lunches in America, and it also has the highest food hardship rate in the country as well. So thank you to Footprint Farms of Jackson City for helping the children. The United States is facing a major meat shortage due to alleged virus infections at processing plants. More fake news. And what has been taking place is millions of pigs have been slaughtered, and many of them could be put down without ever making it to the table. And this is what the predicament looks like on a Minnesota farm. And we're going to highlight what they've been doing or trying to do also. Mike Bowerboom enters the nursery which is a long, low building, via a sea of piglets in front of him, and the clatter of 5,800 hooves is kind of deafening. But he has an affinity with them, and they all creep towards him and jostling one another for the chance to meet up and inspect their visitor. And Mr. Boboom has said these pigs that were destined for food to reach the grocery stores around the country are now being just left. Same issue as Mississippi. And he said it's mind-blowing to look at all the pigs in here. With the situation that's going on, there's a chance that none of these may end up in the food chain. Well, Mr. Boboom is a third-generation hog farmer, and he's just one of the tens of thousands of US pork producers who are facing a stark reality of, although demand for their products is high in the nation's grocery stores, the stores are not buying. Why? Because they've got no money. Fact. And he raised the case that many of them will have to be euthanized and disposed of millions of pigs due to a breakdown in the American food supply chain. Although chicken and cattle farmers are facing similar situations, as are milk and egg producers, because of the tight time frame between when a pig is born to when it's ready for slaughter. And some of the most drastic actions are occurring on these farms first. So there's two stories of what's going on and what has been done about it. We're halfway through May now. You're not telling me the authorities couldn't have organised food to be delivered to their own people within 7 weeks. And people can blame Trump. Many do. But Trump's just one person. What about all the rest of them? What are they doing? I know for a fact that Kim organised not only medical but food and offered to pay for all of it in early April, not May. And yet we wait. Next concern. The US unemployment rate has risen to 14.7%, allegedly. I think it's higher. With 20.5 million jobs lost in April alone. The real jobless total in America is now 40.3 million this week. And the rise means the jobless rate is now worse than at any time since the Great Depression of the 1930s. And since the pandemic began, the US has suffered the worst growth numbers in a decade and worst retail sales report on record. You have to remember, before this fake pandemic kicked in, the unemployment rate was at 3.5%, which is a 50-year low. And yet no one was turning around to Mr. Trump and saying, wow, that's fantastic. And yet these same portal people will now lambast him because there's 40 million out of work. So that's why I said, whether I personally like Trump or not, he's just one person. A government is not one person. It's all of them, including the military generals and the agency goons who dictate so much policy. Trump, like myself, is just the easy projection screen. Now, the leisure and hospitality has been hit especially hard, with payrolls fallen by 7.7 million, or 47%, in leisure and hospitality. Employers in education and health services cut 2.5 million positions, whilst retailers shed 2.1 million jobs. Now, the Labour Department said that more than 3/4 of those without jobs described themselves as temporarily laid off. I'm not too sure a lot of them is going to be temporary. I hope I'm wrong. And it's a sign that many of those currently without work are hopeful that the economy will be able to rebound. Not with the current policy, it won't. It's not possible. Unless new money comes into the system and drastic changes of policy, this country is going to go exactly what I warned in this show as far back as 2017 of them trying to crash and burn America and its economy. Remember when I stated they're trying to turn it into a third world country? Look around you. Like I said, there's many things I say I would love to be wrong on, but you can't ignore the obvious. And with the likes of Kushner, Fink, Gates, military generals, not all, and lead Democrats all playing a huge role in it as disciples of the Rothschilds and or the Black Sun. Why is there no attacks on them people? Or very little? And then we come to the hospitals. One of the cruelest realities of this fake pandemic is America's already ailing hospitals are now being pushed even further into financial ruin, threatening to force a growing number of them to file for bankruptcy or close to bankruptcy. And the onslaught, it is said, could result in some $202.6 billion in losses for hospitals across the country by the end of June. And this is according to the American Hospital Association. While even stronger facilities see revenue evaporate, the demands of the alleged illness may hasten the demise of weak systems. And it was said that federal aid likely won't be enough as millions lose the private insurance critical for hospitals to pay their bills. And he said, I just don't know how many places will survive this, according to Ron Hochman, who's the Chief Executive Officer for Providence St. Joseph Health and Chair-elect for the AHA. He said it's going to be brutal. And that was in late April. We're halfway through May now. California, oh dear. The millions of jobless there also. And their fake pandemic-induced recession in that state is on pace to shatter previous downturns and could lead to a record $54 billion budget shortfall, according to state officials on Thursday. And the California Department of Finance said it expects the state's main revenue sources to decline by more than $41 billion compared to January's predictions. With vanishing income, sales and corporate taxes, combined with an estimated 18% unemployment rate, that all reflects the disastrous economic toll already caused by the fake virus. And California's general fund relies heavily on those three revenue sources: personal income tax, sales tax, and use tax, and corporate tax. Newsom's advisors now predict tax revenues will plunge a combined $41 billion compared to the figure used to craft the January budget, not to mention the $6 billion the state plans to spend this year fighting the pandemic. Yeah, right. And the report also expects the middle and lower class to be specifically harmed, as many layoffs have occurred in low-wage industries. This is that particular state, and New York's going to follow, is an example of the Ouroboros program, where one program goes one way, and then they have to bring another program that choose the previous program and then choose both of them. So California has had a policy, as I put out in a show in Cosmic Voice in 2014, of tipping lower end or lower earning people out of California. They've been doing it for 6 years. So only the wealthy and the elites are left in the state. They do it in Chicago, they do it in Miami, they do it in New York. Coincidence that they do it in Dallas also. Coincidence that they're the greed-based states when it comes to money. They're always the states that are demanding extra funding for this, that and the other. Why? Because they stage events so they get more money. Bit like Bridget Davison. So now something happens and they go, oops, where's all the tax revenue gone? Well, you were throwing people out of their own state for the past 6 years. Did you not comprehend that that would be the happenstance of that event? Well, clearly not. Just like the Black Sun clown that Kim spoke to last week. We're going to get rid of 90% of them. And then who staffs the restaurants, cleans the shoes, chauffeurs your car? With nobody left. Non-thinking. And it's the same on every level. Final piece of news before we go into a fairly lengthy sub-intel, which all has a common theme. The Michigan militia said this week that the police will not be allowed to arrest the 77-year-old Owasso, Michigan barber, Carl Monk, who has defied Governor Whitmer's orders, Zeke Heil, that all non-essential businesses stay closed. On Friday night, Michigan State Police delivered a health protection order from Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel office ordering that Mankey close his doors. And a local Fox affiliate spoke to Daniel Brewer, one of the militia members standing up for the barber's right to work, and said yesterday 6 troopers came in to enforce the governor's order or to issue a cease or desist order. So we are here to make sure he doesn't get arrested. We are willing to stand in front of that door and block the entrance so the police will have no entry there today. And as relationships heat up between the overreaching government agents and protesters who want to open the economy, people like Mankey are being completely let down by the system that claims to want to help them, which is fake in and of itself. The only people that are going to help people are the people. That is it. This is what this show has been telling you all along. If people want help, they have to get it from other people. Waiting for authorities is pure folly at this point. Pure folly. 7 weeks now. Where are the stimulus checks for everyone? Not delivered. Where is the food for everyone? Not delivered. Where is the medical supplies? Not delivered. And yet they can spend time going up and down beaches and parks and finding people. And this has led to more anger and outrage. And Mankey obeyed the original orders and closed his shop. But when he was turned down for unemployment twice, see how I can say, the authorities won't help the people. They'll tell you to do one thing. How's he going to live if you've shut down his business? The government should be paying for that shutdown. Perhaps you can not spend 10 billion sending it to Israel. That would save a lot of money. And he said he had no choice but to go back to work to survive. And they want to arrest him for that? Finally, some real militiamen standing up and doing the right thing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thanks also to the cops, the doctors, the nurses, and the scientists, many of them now, who are finally standing up and speaking out. And it's time we all rise up.